What's going on, YouTube? Today is a very special day for 3D Print Everything, and for you as well, as we are going to reveal the kingroon KP5 series 3D printer. So, just as a little background, the company that makes these printers is called kingroon. As far as I know, well, my history with them is I found this printer back last July. So I've almost been a kingroon buyer for a year now, and I thought this thing was fantastic. This is the kingroon KP5S. I became a reseller for kingroon so I can get these guys in bulk. I can get them at good prices. They're fantastic. As you can see, it's stock setup, 2 fans, direct drive, color touchscreen, flexible build plate, linear rails. It is a nice build. We had Octoprint on there, so there's our octopies all pulled up there, and occasionally I've put an upgraded part cooler on it. I put a little bigger fan, makes it a little quieter, put a dual cooling thing on it, improves the printability just a little bit. But so before this printer they had the KP3. They released it and it had very similar specs, but they asked the community through their Facebook group, hey, what do you want to see on our next version? What should we upgrade? And that's how they came up with the KP3S. Now they've done the same thing here, and they said, what do we want to see upgraded on this printer? So I want you to take note of a couple things. The rail system on the X, Y, and Z. I want you to take note of the direct drive, the size of this motor, the cooling fans, the touch screen, and the Z stops. So pay attention to all those, and let's check out the brand new KP5L. Now, I apologize for this mess. My plan here with this ginormous mess is to assemble all these printers, put them all together, test run every single one of them. I'm here to find out any issues, any quality control issues, production and manufacturing. So I'm going to help kingroon make this printer even better than it is right now, brand new. And we'll go over a couple of the changes with you that I would like to see them make, because it is my full intention to sell more of these than Creality. And this is a better printer in every single way than any Creality out there right now, and I'll prove it to you. But yeah, so let's go through the assembly. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna run out to my truck because I have a little camera. Check out my Jaguar. I got a couple of them, but we're gonna go into my pickup here, which is also slightly messy. Ignore all that. Okay, so I've got a camera holder. There's Sammy. And we'll leave it open. Okay. So because I'm no good at editing, this will be a 0 edited video. So if you're waiting for a break, or if you're wondering why it feels like there might be some dead space, it's because I am doing this. I'm doing this on the go. Or I'm doing this in one take. So I can show you literally how long it takes, and I'm just not an editor. Never figured out how to. If you're a good editor, feel free to comment. I'd love to get one. But okay, so I'll make sure you can see everything. Let's get me out of the way. Perfect. Damn it. Get you out of the way. Okay. So here's our build area. Looks like Sammy just wants to join us. Okay. So first, you take your build plate, you flip it upside down, put it in the middle here, and then this is going to go on. Now there is a directional side here, and the side goes with the kingroon. So your 2 plates here, or your multiple holes in the back, are going to go on the back side like this. So we can just flip that over, flip this one over, and it goes on like so. In our little box here, this is what comes with it. You're going to get a filament holder, a cord, you're going to get your screws, which they give you a lot of extras, probably 3 or 4 extras from what I'm seeing so far. You'll get some Allens and a nice set of clippers. So great stuff. We'll take our Allens out. First step, M512s and take the second to biggest Allen. Actually, no. This is the biggest Allen. And we're going to put each one of them in lightly first. Make sure that we get it all lined up before we tighten one of them down. You don't want to tighten down 3 or 4 of them and then the 5th, or 1 or 2, and then none of the other ones line up. So make sure we get them all lined. Okay. There'll be a couple things here that I want to point out so that you don't miss it too. But I noticed on this KP5M, this medium-sized one, that, as we can see here, there are bolts holding these plates in, right? Oh, 2 are missing here. This is intentional, actually. So these 2 missing plates are intentional, and I'll show you why. Now that we put it here, what I found, after doing this a couple times, is that setting it on top of a printer, or on top of its box that it came in, is a little easier. Oh, here. The next step, because it is easier, is put the extruder on. So the extruder is really cool. So its new rail system is triple steel wheels that ride on a steel thing here. And the neat thing that I like they did here is on the X, the Y, and the Z are all the same system. So this allows them to just order a ton of this. It's all going to be the same size. You've now reduced the parts list because it's literally the same parts. When you're talking about production, that's a very smart move. And it's a smart move too on maintenance as well, because now, you know, getting those parts will be cheaper. Accessing them will be really easy. Replacing the bearings is fairly... I mean, this just slides off and it's 2 bolts. I mean, look at this. There's 2 bolts right here, and that's going to tighten our piece down. Now, some of these, I am noticing, and this is one of the recommendations I'm going to give them, make sure we can see it, that these bolts that go through here, the hole is pretty tight. So they need to increase the hole size here as the screw is threading through the plastic. Now what that ends up causing is if you end up not getting it in the hole immediately, you're going to get a gap in between this block and the metal piece there. And ideally you don't want a gap. You want the most support by having that block just flush up against that. So I had to go through that a couple times. And another issue with this design is when you're threading through this plastic here, before you end up bottoming it out, you might end up stripping the head. And from their assembly, I've already found one that was stripped from the factory, and then I stripped 2 of them. So it's pretty easy to do. You know, I'm a veteran 3D printer guy here, so me stripping a couple of these, that doesn't bode too well. I'm going to recommend that they increase that hole size. And I did see on one of them the hole size was increased enough, so it must have been either too tight and they just drilled through it, or they actually printed one that had a proper hole size. But yeah, that's one of the upgrades right there. So it's a little tough. You know, I'm strong, but this is slightly more annoying than what I'd like. But hey, we got that in there now. So our extruder is mounted. Now I'm going to put this right up here. It fits over perfectly. And now there's 4 holes in the back here. You're going to use the 2 holes closest to the middle. They're the only 2 holes that will fit this screw too. And you're going to take out the M520. I've already got a couple spares here, so I'm just going to use one of those. You'll use your largest Allen. And it's easy if you pick this up and you kind of look at where it is, because the hole is kind of on the back side of this railing. It's not center of the railing like most people would expect. So you can kind of lift it up, but it helps if you have it lifted off like this, because trying to assemble this sideways, I imagine, would be a little tricky. So I'm putting that in there almost fully tight. I'm going to flip it around. Get another one here. You're going to line this one up. And put that one in. Now, one of the nice upgrades they did to this printer is this new power supply. And that's one thing I really like, is they integrate it into the frame. They actually make it a part of the support of this by having this right up against this right here. You're able to then bolt it down. So we're going to take some of the M4 by 12s, 2 of them, your second biggest Allen, and we're going to put them in here. Now you have to push this power supply kind of in there. Trying to find the holes is going to be tricky on this one, but if you put it in there, you put your Allen on it, and you just kind of start rotating, and you push this in there, you'll find it. All you gotta do is kind of push it in, but you'll get it. We've got it there. I'm gonna put a second one in. So now this is supporting our Z-axis. Oh, wrong one. This is supporting our Z-axis really well now. So we've got, push it in there. Okay, got it, perfect. We're going to put our second Z screws in to get our whole X and Z on there. Sorry, I'm blocking the view. Okay, we're going to flip it back around, put our second one in here, because there's 2 on each side. But you got to make sure that you get it lined up on the other side before you put this one in. Alright. So that's good. Now there's one more thing to do while it's up on the box here. Let's put our screen on. So our screen has 4 holes here. And one thing I like about this is they've designed the whole thing so that you could essentially swap these things. Now you can't because of the location of this. They do intend everything to line up a certain way. But the way that they've manufactured their plates is that almost everything is reversible. So like for instance, before you install these bottom plates, it doesn't matter if you flip it one way or the other. You've got 2 holes on this side, you got 2 holes on that side. Although this is only going to mount on the left side because of the wires, the LCD and everything, when you're assembling, it doesn't matter which side you put this on. So that's cool. I like that. That saves costs. That makes this printer cheaper for us to buy and use. And that's why I like it. Not to mention, you know, if I was going to do manufacturing or something like that, it's just really smart. I see a lot of things on this printer that I like, and only a few things that we really need to potentially upgrade. So I put 2 of these. These are the M4 by 12s. So you want to get 2 of those. Screw that on there. Now you got your screen nice and mounted. Now, most of these come pre-labeled. I have had 1 out of the 5 that I've assembled so far that didn't come with these, so you'll just have to switch them and hope for the best, but otherwise LCD 1 will go in, it's like EXT1 or whatever's on the back side here. So you can look at this. Now you can install this before you plug it in. It'll give yourself a little bit more room if you've got kind of some big fingers or some big hands or the shakes. It might be easier if you plug that in and then put it on there, but I'm able to easily get that on there, so that's the way I've done it so far. Okay, we're very close to being done, guys. So that's literally the main extent of it. It's got all its rigidity now. I mean, look at that. There's absolutely no flex or anything like that. This is a really nice, solid setup now. So we'll plug in our heat bed right here. One thing to notice is they put a lot of glue right around this thing here, so that these wires will stay nice and straight and they shouldn't wear out over time from it bending right there. So that's a good little note. Everything is tied up in your motherboard box here pretty well. I really like how clean this looks. I like their wiring in the back here, all of their cables. These are nice. One of the things I'd possibly do in the future, or would request maybe that they think of, is your extruder wires. Some of the extruders I've seen have either an HDMI or another type of cable design, and I really like that cable design. It does just make it a bit cleaner when you can plug and unplug your extruder. I don't see too much use for that here. I fully expect this printer to be really, really nice and not need too much maintenance, so that's fine with me there. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking the 2 screws out for the Y-stop. Now I did have one printer that was missing the screws for the Y-stop. Not too big a deal. I literally took the screws from another one of these and I just put 1 in. 1 will work. You definitely want 2. But if you happen to be missing screws, if you've ordered this printer, then just run down to your hardware store if it's your very first printer and get you another screw. That's nothing, in my opinion, to contact the manufacturer over. So while I'm putting these together, I'll kind of go over that. Is what's worth contacting the manufacturer? In my opinion, if you get a destroyed bed, like if somebody has pre-printed on this and damaged it, sure, you're going to want a new one. If your motherboard isn't working, you know, you might get a replacement there. If a wire's broken, do you contact the manufacturer? I don't think so. It's not worth it. You know, you might advise them that a wire was broken, but don't expect any help from them on that. You need to learn how to solder if you're going to do 3D printing. Not putting it on you like it's your fault or anything like that, but when it comes to this, you can solder something in a matter of 10-15 minutes, and it's going to take you 3 days to have a conversation with somebody from China. You know, they might get back. Their hours are literally like 9 p.m. to like 5 a.m. That's their work time. So if you're contacting them outside of that time, then you know, you're not going to get a response. Now here, this is one thing I want to show us, because on a couple of these, and I'm not 100% if I'm putting this the right way. Maybe I need to go underneath now, because I'm not wanting it to chop there. This wire has been a little short on a couple of these. So this actually fits right here, but we need to watch out for this. We can't have that happen. So don't hook up your Y wire if it's going to run into this. So for two reasons. One, obviously this is just going to cause an issue and rip out our wires over here. Two, if it did have just enough room or just slid under it, it will adjust this. By hitting it, it might pull it just a little bit. Then you're going to get your bed out of level. So you don't want that. That's no good. Personally, I think this might be better served if it was turned on the inside and there was maybe a little slot for a zip tie, so that this could kind of come in here, and then just like if this was on the inside here, that would make it just a little bit easier to possibly deal with. And it looks like I can possibly do something like this. I don't know if I like it. I'm gonna have to figure this out. But one nice thing is there is plenty of room. So we'll go ahead and show you now, since we're doing this. And this is why I'm doing this video, is I want to show its flaws too. I'm not here just to toot Kingroon's horn. I am a reseller of it. I do think it's the best bang for the buck printer. But every single printer, especially ones that I bought more than 2 or 3 of, I found issues from the factory. Hands down, every single one of them. From Creality to Mingda to Kingroon to whatever. Generally, they're small issues, but we want to address them and make sure that we're good. So look, they do a really good job of tying up all of our cables. They're all zip tied up in here. All the extra is made pretty good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pull a little extra Y out there. So I got what I believe is just enough. That'll be fine. And look at that. See, I can put that over here now, and that's not going to interfere. No. Well, that does. Okay, so I don't like this. We're gonna have to figure something out here. So this design just needs more room, really. It needs to be zip tied down like this, so that it's out of the way of the Z, and it needs just a little bit more room. So I'm gonna pull some more for the Y. I just pulled it for the Z actually. Now we're gonna pull some extra for the Y. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this zip tie. So I love the cabling here, guys, but we do need to get a little bit more. Okay. So yeah, I've got some more. I pulled that down. Now that's properly out of the way. Okay. So you guys check your printer. I put this on y'all. It's your responsibility to make sure your printer runs good. I get too many people that complain, you know, that they bought a really crappy printer, that the motherboard doesn't work, that it thinks it's printing the wrong size printer and all this other stuff. It's either one of two things. You either set the printer up wrong, or you set your Cura settings up wrong. I would say 98 to 99% of the printers that you're going to find are fine. They came out of the factory fine. The assembly might not be great. The support might be terrible or non-existent. It might even be a tricky printer to put together. But it probably works. They generally do. They generally test these things out of the factory, so you don't need
to freak out and think that you're just getting screwed over by somebody in China. You just need to find someone like me, if you're outside of North Texas, to give you some help on putting the printer together properly. I've done that with just too many people to where it's stuff like this. It's a brand new printer that they could have possibly put together fine, but there might be a flaw or two from the factory that you just need to address. So I'm glad we could address that. I'm gonna put our two screws on here. Okay. Alright, so that's good to go. We can see our wires are not going to interfere with our Y, and everything else looks good. So let's go over just a quick overview of this. I'm going to take my